Sometimes the most memorable things in stories just aren't that complicated. Think about winter is coming, or a lightning bolt scar. Think about player 456, or I am Groot. A complete beginner could have written any one of those. I mean, it's not super complex, like, I don't know, a Faulkner sentence or something. This video is about why simple, almost stupid things can be so effective in your fiction, and I'm going to give you 8 different ways that you can use these techniques in your own book. Hi, I'm John Matthew Fox. I am an editor who helps authors through courses and through coaching, and let's get started right away with number 1. The oddly specific number. Okay, it requires almost zero talent just to, come up with a number, but for some reason it really sticks in the reader's brain. So instead of writing something like about 100, you should just write a very specific number like 93, because that kind of specificity makes the reader believe in your story. Think about 11 in Stranger Things, how she's named after her lab subject number. So the number is the trauma. Think about player number 456 and player number 1 in Squid Games, and how numbering people makes them feel a little less than human. Or think about district number 12 in the Hunger Games, how they're telling you, because this is 12 out of 12, it's like the least important district out there. Now, a little caution here, you absolutely can go overboard with numbers and you succumb to this disease of like every planet has a serial number, and that gets very tiring to read. And I do think there is exceptions to this rule as well. Like if you say like they never found out how many, then what that does is it creates like this sense of dread and horror in a way that having a specific number maybe couldn't do. Hey, Bookfox Lab starts in less than a week, so this is your last chance. If you want to get help with your novel and make sure that it is the best book it can be, get help from our mentors who are best-selling authors and have helped authors get a lot of literary awards. All you got to do is click the link in that description and start a conversation. The second simple, almost stupid thing that you absolutely should be doing in your book is just capitalize a noun. Now, I have to say that you fantasy authors are probably a little ahead of all the rest of us on this one. Yeah, you like your capitalization. Now, this works so well because capitalization makes something automatically important. So the reader just like latches onto it and they're like, huh, okay, that's not a normal thing, that is a special thing. So 2 quick examples here. In Susanna Clarke's Piranesi, she has this like capitalization frenzy. I've never seen so much capitalization in a book. She capitalizes abstract terms like knowledge and death and life. And she also capitalizes a lot of regular nouns like tides and doors and windows. And all this capitalization makes you feel like the main character, he's in like this weird and wild place. Another good book that uses capitalization well is Room by Emma Donoghue. So this kid and his mom have been imprisoned in this room by this guy. And so the entire world that this boy knows is this room. So he doesn't call things a bed, he refers to it as bed, like capital B, because he's never seen another one. So everything in the room gets capitalized because it is one of a kind. It breaks your heart. It is a tough book to read or movie to watch if you've seen the movie. Now, really the danger of using a strategy like this is that the reader can get lost in so much capitalization that they don't know what to assign importance to, and so they just feel overwhelmed. But if you can come up with a reason for why this thing in your story needs to be capitalized, then I say go for it. The next really simple thing you can do as an author, which is incredibly powerful, is number 3. The repeated refrain. Repetition is so powerful, but also from an author's perspective, like it's so easy. Like you only have to come up with it once and then you can keep on using it again and again. It's so simple that it works on children with, books like Dr. Seuss. I do not like green eggs and ham, but it's also powerful enough to work on us as adults. In Game of Thrones, a repeated phrase is winter is coming. And at first it refers to the weather, and then it's sort of like this vague sense of dread, and then it refers to a literal army of the dead coming to kill them. In The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, you have these ritualized greetings like blessed be the fruit, and it makes this oppressive society feel really real to the reader. Or if you want to keep it really simple and funny to boot, I mean, you could do the Guardians of the Galaxy style where one character only says, I am Groot. And then the classic example would be Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-Five, which repeats the phrase, so it goes. And that nonchalance perfectly contrasts with the horrors of war. So take a second and think of like, what is a refrain that you have in your book? Or what is a refrain you could add to your book? It could be a repeated line by one of the characters. It could be a repeated line by your omniscient narrator. But if you don't have some sort of repetition in your book, you're missing out on a really simple way to make your book better. This 4th stupidly memorable technique might be my favorite one. It is number 4. The coined word. So it's really not that difficult to coin a new word for your novel, but it does so much to make your universe feel special and whole and real. Plus, it really helps your readers to feel like they're on the inside group, like they have the code now and they know what this word means. I mean, in Harry Potter, think about Quidditch or the word muggle, which was recently added to the Oxford English Dictionary, by the way. If you guys remember the TV show Firefly, they coined words like shiny to refer to like cool things, or Gorham, which was this curse that they usually shouted. In Battlestar Galactica, they coined the word frack to avoid saying the other F word. And in Game of Thrones, right, Dracarys became this symbol of like death to your enemies. Now, if you're gonna use this technique, the worst thing that you can do is just to like cobble something together, you know, throw some random syllables together into an ugly word. Nah, it's not going to work for you. Really, you need to root your made-up word in some sort of linguistic justification. All the made-up language inside A Clockwork Orange is based on British Cockney and Russian slang and German. And Tolkien didn't come up with Elvish just out of the blue. No, he based it on Celtic and Welsh languages. Lastly, just make sure your word is guessable. Like, you should be able to show this to someone, and without any context whatsoever, they should at least be able to like guess at what the word means. I mean, Gorham and frack don't exactly sound like pies and rainbows. You know what I mean? I mean, they're curses and they sound that way. Hey, if you subscribe right now, no, literally, like right now, you are more likely to see my next video, and therefore you are more likely to help your book along the journey toward publication. So yes, please subscribe, please like the video, and thank you in advance. The next stupid and simple yet wildly effective technique to use in your fiction is number 5. The single burned-in image. In screenwriting, this is called the iconic image, and it's just that one image that sticks in your brain long after you've forgotten all the plot. You still remember that one moment. So all you gotta do is burn one frame of your story into your reader's brain. That's it. That's it. And then your book will be remembered forever. Think of The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty, that moment when the possessed girl rotates her head backwards, 180 degrees in the book, 360 in the movie. I mean, horrifying, horrifying. Or think of Life of Pi by Jan Martel. This really wasn't a single moment, but it was sort of like the concept of the book, a boy in a lifeboat with a tiger. You really can't get that image out of your brain. Or in The Godfather by Mario Puzo, it was the horse head in the bed. And, you know, fun fact, that was an actual horse head they used in the movie. They do not make movies like that anymore. Now, a common mistake that authors make is that they think a really memorable image is the same thing as like a really extreme image, but that's not always the case, right? Sometimes a really quiet or small image can really lodge in the reader's brain too. Like that girl in the red dress in Schindler's List, it just sticks with you. Now let's move right along to our 6th point, which is a doozy. It is the single distinctive feature. So characters are often remembered physically by a single memorable detail. And what that does is it takes all the stress off of you as an author, right? You don't have to spend 2 pages describing their hair color and eye color and height and shoe size and everything about them. No, you just have to give one memorable detail about their body. Now, in your novel, if you have one singular detail about one of your characters, mention it in the comments. I'm a little curious what you guys are already doing with this technique. Now, if you're trying to come up with one memorable feature for one of your characters, I think the best strategy is to make this feature do something. For instance, Harry Potter's scar is backstory. It's also prophecy of what's to come in the storyline. And then it's also the plot. I'll also say that the best features that authors give to characters end up externalizing some sort of inner truth rather than just like decorating them. I mean, think of Lisbeth Salander in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I mean, it's right there in the title, right? I mean, the dragon tattoo is her most salient feature, and it also hints at like what she's going to do for revenge. Or think of the haircut of Anton Chigurh in No Country for Old Men. The haircut makes him look a little inhuman, right? Like just a little off. And for a psychopath, that's exactly right. Now, a big question that authors often debate about is whether physical deformity signals villainy. For instance, the James Bond books do this really frequently, so frequently it got called the Fleming device. So villains will have prosthetic metal hands, they'll have, you know, a huge scar over their eye, or they'll have this severely disfigured face. And whether you use this or not, I think really depends on your genre. You have to know your audience and what they're gonna like and dislike. Like if you're writing a literary literary fiction novel, like it's more likely that someone with a handicap like that or physically disfigured in some way would be the hero of the story rather than the villain, because otherwise you get called ableist or something and people will roast your stories. The next stupidly simple but stupidly effective thing to do in your fiction is number 7, the literal ticking clock. So Hitchcock argued that there were 2 ways to tell a story about a bomb that is hidden underneath the table. One, you could just spring it as a complete surprise, right? And so you get a couple seconds of shock and then nothing else. But 2, what you can do is you can tell the audience that there is a bomb underneath the table and watch them squirm as they anticipate that bomb going off. That second version, that's a ticking clock. That's where you know what's going to happen and you know there's a time frame in which it has to happen in. And so you're like, when's it gonna happen? Think about all the ticking clocks in The Martian by Andy Weir. He's got these hard deadlines of oxygen and calories and the launch window. Or in Andy Weir's other novel, Project Hail Mary, you have this ticking clock of, the annihilation of the human race, which is a pretty big ticking clock. Now, I have to say that the most common mistake with ticking clocks is when the author fails to convince the reader that the clock might run down to 0. A lot of readers have come to expect a happy ending. And so they instinctually believe the clock is going to be stopped at 0:01, right? It's not going to actually happen. And what that does is it reduces the tension for your scene. So your entire goal when doing a ticking clock is really to convince the reader, keep on giving them lots and lots of evidence that, hey, this clock really will run out. There is nothing your protagonist can do to stop this from happening. Last but not least, you really should use this technique in your novel. It is number 8, the title drop. So every time I encounter the title of the book inside the book that I'm reading, I stop and I mark it and I think about where it is in the book and why the author has chosen to reveal it in this way. Now, as a writer, this is really easy, right? Because you already have the title of your book and all you're doing is finding a way to insert it into some part of the story. And it's a nice callback to that title and this nice connection for the reader. But you can't just, name drop the title and expect it to do something to the reader. No, you actually need a strategy. So let's look at these 3 strategies. The first one is the reversal. In Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt, at the beginning of the story, the title refers to octopi, right? Like octopi are remarkably bright creatures. But then at the end of the story, we're hearing from the octopus's point of view. Octopuses, octopi, I don't know. Both sound right. And he says, hey, humans can be clumsy, but they can also be remarkably bright creatures. It's a little patronizing toward the humans. It's a nice little joke. And it also reverses how we at first interpreted that title. Another good strategy is the thematic ending, like in Norman Maclean's A River Runs Through It. It's the classic fly fishing novel. And the title isn't mentioned in the book until the very last paragraph, where it talks about the metaphor of a river running through your life as just like, you have to accept what comes at you. But I think my favorite strategy is the title with multiple interpretations. So Jonathan Franzen's The Corrections. Corrections refers to the .com bust sort of hovering over the entire family's finances. And then all the family members' impulses to correct one another's lives. And lastly, the copyediting corrections happening inside one of the characters' screenplays. Look, the title drop is one of the most shameless techniques in this whole video, but it still really, really works, which kind of proves the entire thesis of this video, right? Simple, stupid things are very effective. Remember, now is your last chance to join BookFox Lab and get your book finished and on its way to publication. So, hey, click that link down below, reach out to me, I'd be happy to talk to you. And lastly, all of you who are watching this, whatever you're writing out there, good luck with your book. I am cheering for you.